Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're unpacking one of the absolutely most bizarre, extreme, and honestly kind of brutal corners of the natural world. We're talking about mating locks. We usually think of reproduction as a cooperative process, right? But in some species, the female's anatomy literally traps the male in place. This stronghold can last anywhere from a few minutes to, well, literally the rest of the male's very short life.
All right, let's dive into this. Now, throughout most of the animal kingdom, mating is a pretty quick, hit-and-run affair. It's fast, efficient, everyone just moves on. But in a mating trap, the male is essentially held hostage. His reproductive organs are physically locked into the female. We're going to count down some animals where this intense biological hostage situation actually happens and look at exactly how they do it and, more importantly, why.
So why does this even happen? I mean, is it about pleasure or is it some high-stakes battle for paternity? Well, spoiler alert, it's definitely the latter. And as we're going to see, this battle involves a shocking amount of pain and sacrifice for the males. This is absolutely not about romance. It is about survival at all costs.
Before we get to the animals themselves, we really need to understand the driving force behind all this. It's called sperm competition. Out in the wild, mating isn't just about the act itself. It's an evolutionary arms race to make sure you are the absolutely only one whose genes actually make it to the next generation. The bizarre locks we're about to look at are basically escalating solutions to one massive biological problem: winning that sperm competition, literally no matter the cost. Section 1. Mammalian locks. Gogs and pigs. Let's start things off with a relatively familiar, non-lethal example just to set a baseline for our escalation arc here. If you've ever seen two dogs stuck together after mating, you've witnessed what biologists call the copulatory tie. This happens in both domestic dogs and coyotes, and it is not a mistake. It's not a malfunction. It's a deliberate mechanical lock designed explicitly as a form of paternity protection. And this brilliantly illustrates how it works physically. First, a structure at the base of the male's anatomy called the bulbus glandis swells up significantly. Right at the same time, the female's vaginal muscles contract incredibly strongly around it, which brings us to step 3. A secure mechanical lock is established, literally making it impossible for them to separate. Now, this lock isn't just a fleeting moment. They stay locked together for anywhere from 10 to 45 minutes. And why? Because this extended hold gives the sperm the absolute best possible chance to reach the egg, physically blocking other males from coming in and just overwriting that first male's genetic contribution. Now, a natural tie isn't painful, but forced separation by humans? That is incredibly dangerous. It causes severe tissue tearing for both animals. So nature dictates you just kind of have to wait for the swelling to go down on its own. Moving on to our second mammalian example, the domestic pig. And their anatomy is wild. The male pig, or boar, actually has a highly unique corkscrew-shaped anatomy. And the female's cervix? It has matching spiral ridges. So during mating, the male literally screws into the cervix and locks into place. He essentially bolts himself in. But why on earth does the boar need to bolt himself in like a piece of heavy machinery? Well, volume. Boars produce a massive amount of ejaculate. We are talking sometimes up to half a liter of fluid. To put that in perspective, this 5 to 20 minute screw lock is absolutely crucial to ensure all that fluid is actually delivered into the uterus under pressure, instead of just leaking out. Once the pressure drops, the tissues relax and the screw is naturally undone. Let's move to section 2 and see how this builds. The lethal honeybee sign. Leaving the non-lethal mammals behind, we are now escalating to the violent sky battles of insects. When a male honeybee, a drone, mates with a queen in midair, it is arguably one of the most extreme and violent locks out there. His reproductive organ, the endophallus, is everted with explosive force. And the queen? Her anatomy is literally designed to rip that organ straight out of his body. This violently leaves behind what scientists call a mating sign, which is essentially a plug of chitinized plates and mucus tightly lodged in her sting chamber. Talk about the worst date ever, right? This lock is so incredibly strong that upon ejaculation, the drone actually experiences instant paralysis. As he pulls away, his internal organs are violently torn out of his body. He then falls to the ground and dies almost immediately. He literally pays the ultimate price just to establish this physical mating plug. But here is the truly tragic irony of the drone's sacrifice. The queen doesn't just mate once. No, she employs a multiple mating strategy. So the next drone that flies up to mate, he actually has to do the work to physically remove the previous dead male's lethal mating sign before he can take his turn, only to suffer the exact same explosive, fatal fate himself. No way around it.
Let's move to Section 3, the garter snake's gelatinous plug.
So from the skies, let's head back down to the ground. Our next animal shifts the focus slightly, looking at how the male creates a massive blockade. Welcome to the world of the red-sided garter snake. These snakes are famous for their chaotic mating balls, where dozens of males frantically swarm a single female. To secure his paternity in that massive writhing swarm, a successful male garter snake produces a huge, gelatinous copulatory plug directly from his kidneys. And get this, that plug represents 0.4% of his total body mass. In human terms, that is a staggeringly massive biological investment for just a single mating event. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is what this massive investment actually accomplishes. This kidney plug functions perfectly as a temporary chastity belt. It physically occludes the female's reproductive tract, preventing any rivals from mating with her, and crucially, preventing the male's own sperm from leaking out. This heavy-duty blockade holds tight before naturally dissolving after about 2 to 3 days. But the female isn't entirely defenseless here. This creates a really fascinating sexual conflict. See, the female often has very little choice about who mates with her in these giant swarms, so she's actually developed a countermeasure: violent body rolling. By thrashing and rolling violently during copulation, she attempts to terminate the male's physical hold early, which completely prevents him from successfully depositing that massive kidney plug in the first place.
And that brings us to Section 4, the spider's ultimate sacrifice.
Okay, we've seen mammals lock in place, we've seen bees explode, and snakes build massive gelatinous walls. Now we escalate to the final, most terrifying extreme on our countdown. During copulation, the male orb-weaver uses his mating organs, which are known as pedipalps, to transfer sperm. But he doesn't take them back with him. The male physically breaks off the tips of his own pedipalps inside the female. These broken-off body parts act as incredibly durable mating plugs, permanently blocking the female's genital openings to ensure his sperm is the only one that gets the job done. But breaking off an organ isn't even the most extreme part. Researchers have observed that during the insertion of their second pedipalp, the male orb-weaver often experiences spontaneous death. He just simply dies on the spot. It's not just from pain. It is an instant, biologically programmed suicide. Let's break down the mechanics of this ultimate cost. Death occurs right at the exact moment of that second insertion, and then something incredibly macabre happens. His entire dead corpse essentially becomes a whole-body mating plug. Because the broken-off pedipalps are highly durable and scleroticized, which basically means hardened, his lifeless body just hangs there. It physically guards the defenseless female from rivals, drastically reducing her ability to ever mate again for the rest of the season. Whether it's a dog's 45-minute tie, a bee's lethal mating sign, a snake's giant kidney plug, or a spider's literal self-mutilation and suicide, these locks prove one overriding rule of nature. Winning the genetic lottery requires incredible sacrifice. Evolution actively prioritizes the passing on of genes above absolutely everything else, even if it costs intense pain, the loss of an organ, or life itself. It definitely makes you view the natural world with a whole new level of respect, right? And maybe a little bit of horror, for sure. So I have to ask, which of these animals do you think has the most terrifying mating strategy? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this explainer, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.